Okay, so I've had a couple of requests for more detail on how to pass the security headers at .io test using my content security policy plugin. So we're going to do a start to finish from 0 to passing using one of the sites that I manage. We're going to assume that you've already installed the plugin, and we begin in the plugin manager. Just turn on the Ajax plugin and configure it to accept your referrer, which in my case is going to be this. And I'm not doing the CLI just yet. So yes, sorry, let me explain here. If your site uses www and non-www URLs, you would put in 2 entries here. This site, I have the server configured to redirect all www requests to the non-www host name. So I only expect referrers to come from arbuilders.com. Now, the reason that I'm expecting referrers, that indicates I am expecting incoming data, is because one of the facilities in the content security policy specification is a report to URL. There's 2. It's report URI and report to. They both do the exact same thing. Report URI has been deprecated but is still in use by most browsers. Report to is the future, but most browsers don't implement it. So I implemented both in my plugin so that you're future-proofed. When report URI does finally die, then you are already running report to if you configure everything correctly. So you need to put in, if you're planning on receiving the reports on media that doesn't match, that doesn't pass the content security policy, then you need to put a refer in the Ajax plugin when you turn it on. So refer, save and close. Before we turn on content security policy, we're going to make one configuration so that our users don't feel the sting. Because if we turn it on with the report only value set to no, and we have any value in fetch directives, then something's going to get blocked if we haven't configured everything just yet. So we're starting with report only. What this does is it puts an error message in the console log, and it sends that report to the Ajax plugin. So you can have a record of exactly what was reported, so you can create your fetch directives. All of this, I feel like I need to explain what the content security policy does before I get into everything here. So content security policy is a set of instructions for your browser describing exactly what kinds of interactions your website will allow. Now, those interactions can be anything from loading an image to loading a JavaScript to executing an inline JavaScript to CSS to form destinations to there's all kinds of stuff. It's all here in the fetch directives, and each thing has a mouse over, plus it's a link back to the documentation about that item. So if you're ever concerned that you don't know what this particular thing is that you're putting an allowed address in for, just go to the item here and click on it. It will take you into some documentation about that item. So I'm gonna leave that up to you to explore. I want to go through, like I said, a start to finish implementation here. So first thing we do, we're going to switch to report only, which is the alternate tag to the content security policy tag. So we're going to go to report only, and we're going to enable this plugin. Okay. At this point, you're going to want to open up your website, open up your console log, and secure reporting URI. That's Google. Yeah, we're not worried about that. You're going to see some error messages here that aren't us. It's Google not meeting their own content security policy. And remote.js YouTube is giving me some error message here. Whatever. Always an error message. YouTube invalid security. Insecure reporting URL. Yeah. Maybe I should have picked a different site, but this is okay though. I'm going to refresh here, and we're looking for something that says something's going to be blocked. You know what? Let's go ahead and make our first configuration. Our default source for anything is going to be self. It means that the website itself is allowed to be a default source for virtually anything. Now that means that as soon as we define a default source, now we're going to start seeing error messages, because any resource we pull from elsewhere is not going to conform to the rule that we just set for the browser. So I'm going back to the site, and I'm reloading, and we got lots of error messages here. Violates the following content security policy directives. So you're going to see a lot of these. We're just going to go to the very top, and we're going to start working our way down. Does not specify, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You're going to see this until we flip it over to, well, until we fill in our report URI. So let's do that real quick. The report URI is always going to be listed here on your page when you go to reporting directives. Always right here. So just highlight it, copy it, paste it here. And while you're at it, set up a report to URL. Give it any name you like. Paste your URL here. Take that group name, copy it down there, and give it an age. I don't remember how many seconds this is, but it's a lot. I don't know. It's in the documentation. They say put some big number in there. I pulled that out of the documentation. If you want to read about it, you can find it there. So you create a group name, you copy your group name down here, you give it a max age, and you copy this endpoint right down there, this endpoint right here, save it. And now we're not going to have that error message at the top anymore. And as a matter of fact, if we go to XHR is here. To badge. That shows up at. That's okay. We are getting our reports. I'm sure we'd go look at them. We don't need to though. Report only. Refuse to apply an inline style because it violates the following content security policy directive. Default source self, unsafe inline, hash or blah 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 nonce. Okay. An unsafe inline style is a style attribute on an element. Okay, so if you're using any style attributes on elements, you're going to see this error message, and it's super easy to get past. You copy this unsafe inline portion here. You go into the fetch directives and you find style source allowed, and you do unsafe inline. In fact, let's add a couple of them in here. May as well do self. As soon as you define any item, so style source, as soon as you define any item, it then ignores the default source. So I have defined a unsafe inline for style source, so now I need to add self to that item here. So we'll save it. We'll reload here. We shouldn't see no more unsafe inlines. Perfect. This one says it refused to execute an inline script. An inline script is any script tag that doesn't point to a script source. If it's a raw script within your regular script tags, which, you know, that's going to be in your head like this. So text JavaScript, bunch of script, that is considered an inline script. At that point, you need to enable unsafe inline for scripts. And like before, we need to add self as a valid source and then unsafe inline. We'll save it. Reload this page. I'll scroll back up the top here. Refuse to load Google Analytics because it violates the following content security policy directive. We did not have www.googleanalytics.com as a valid script source. So go back in here to script source, add Google Analytics, and reload. Refuse to connect to graph.facebook.com. So Facebook Graph doesn't want to connect. Because connect source does not include graph.facebook.com. So we're going to add, because we're creating our first rule, we're going to add self to connect source and graph.facebook.com. And save it. You know what, before we refresh here, let's just move down the list here because there are several. Can't do LinkedIn because it's missing from the script source. Yep. So let's go down to script source here. Add LinkedIn. Refuse to connect to Heroku. It's not in the connect source. So I mean, so something you may notice here is that every one of the errors tells you what you need to do to fix it. So you just need to read the error and find where it says which policy it violates and go stick that address into that policy. Okay, non-unique form, blah, blah, blah. Refuse to frame YouTube. Okay. Frame source does not contain YouTube, so let's open up a frame source here. Worker source, it's a document directive, I think. Navigation, reporting. No, it's gotta be in fetch. Frame source. No, it's rolled right on past it. We're going to create self, and then we're going to add YouTube. And you know what? Let's go ahead and save that and refresh this so we get a clean set of errors. No big deal, no big deal. Refuse to load the image. Google Analytics image source is missing. So image source, self, followed by Google Analytics. Let's add some more here. Secure Okay. Refuse to load the image, stats.doubleclick. So another image source. And let's reload that. And we don't have any more refuse to loads, which is good. So at this point, we could go to securityheaders.io and just try out the home page. Yeah, we're missing some stuff here. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're not. I forgot to flip the switch here. Let's go to plugin. Let's turn report only to no, which means that we're going live. And then scan again. See, okay, cool. So we're missing, see, it tells us that our content security policy is good. Our strict transport security is good. And at this point we're missing headers for other things, which we cover. Other directives. Yeah, we're not messing with those. Oops. Not messing with that one just yet either. Frame, same origin, content type. Let's turn that one on. It's this. I'm going to switch on reporting URI for XSS protection because it's the same URI. For policy, same origin. And we already do strict transport security on the server, so I'm not going to flip that one on. Save that. Bam. Hey. Just like that. Now, all I did was the home page. You need to browse other pages of your site. So like this site has a forum. Which may have additional things here. Refuse to connect to Google Analytics. It violates the connects. Okay, connect to Google Analytics is failing. So connect source. Oh yeah, look at that. We're not in there. So yeah, you need to check all the pages of your site that might have content from elsewhere. So we refused the script source pageads2.googleanalytics.com or googlesyndication.com. That was a connect source or script? Script source. Script source. Now you can use wildcards in here. So this is page ad 2. I'm guessing that there's more than one page ad. So I'm going to do a star.googlesyndication.com. Save that one. I don't see any other errors here, but let's load it up anyway. Now that the script is running, we may have images that won't load. There we go. Adservice.google.com wants to load a script. Now we may have images that won't want to load. Frame source. See, we can't load. See, so there's a lot of trial and error because once you enable one script, that might try to load images from elsewhere. So, wait, what was that? Frame source. So, it's important to do a lot of testing, and if you get a user that contacts you and says, "Hey, my XYZ image isn't showing up," then you can look to see where that image is coming from and know that you need to go in and add that as a source, as a valid source. So we'll save that and we'll reload. See, the frame source there is fine. Load that. And look at that, an ad showed up, and it's valid even to me. I spend a lot of time on Moz. And that's probably good. Let's see. Recent topics. Somebody wrote something somewhere. Okay, I'm not getting any. Error messages on this page. Somebody, Armory Dynamics, is selling something. I wonder where they got their image from. No images. Oh, here we go though. API.pinterest.com is attempting to do something or other. It wants to be added as a script source. Well, since we use Pinterest for our social sharing, we'll add them. Reload this page. May as well look for others while we're here. Nope. Any errors here? Nope. Doing good. Anyway, I did not just click on that link, did I? No, okay. I appear to be missing something here. No. I'm missing a web font of some type. Looks like Font Awesome, but okay. We'll figure that one out later. So yeah, that's the basics of this thing. Let me play a video here and see if I get any other errors that it's trying to do something. Oh, no errors. Okay. That's that. So I hope implementation is a little bit easier with that explanation. It is a super easy plugin to work with, and I mean, you saw me go from a D to an A in you know what? How many minutes are we here? 23 minutes and 6 seconds. We went from nothing to passing. So it's really easy to use, and all of the items within the plugin configuration are linked back to the documentation. If you have any questions about how that works, you know, you can contact me as a subscriber. You get support for the extension, and I tried to link it to all of the relevant documentation. So hope to see you in the forums telling me how great it is, or not. You know, I mean, you can tell me how broke it is if it's broke. But enjoy.